Hello, I'm Dr. Sri Banerjee, epidemiologist, biostatistician, faculty member. And in this lecture, I'm going to be going over lead poisoning as it pertains to food. Now, you might be thinking that lead only is limited to paint, and specifically paint within the 1970s. However, the reality is that this year we had a outbreak of lead poisoning. And the first case was identified in October 31st. Now, with that said, we have to be thinking about people that were not included within this study and within the outbreak. So there might have been people that experienced lead poisoning and did not experience the short-term symptoms. However, they may see lowered cognition and some of the long-term outcomes and attention deficit disorder that is typical of lead poisoning. The truth is, today in policy, the allowable lead and lead contents within the body is actually accepted at much higher rates than the levels at which there are pathophysiological consequences. So with that said, let me go into the details about what took place as the events unfolded. So the applesauce, initially the idea was people thought that it was coming from actual applesauce. So Wanabana apple cinnamon fruit puree pouches, regardless of expiration date, they were actually being recalled and investigated by the FDA for lead contaminated food products. So you would think, obviously, this is coming from the apple. Has nothing to do with anything else. Now, that's where the surprise is as we unfold this. So what was recalled was the Wanabana and then Schnucks, and all of them were cinnamon flavored applesauce pouches, and then the Wise cinnamon applesauce pouches. And of course, this was through the CDC website. They told consumers, do not eat recalled apple cinnamon fruit puree pouches. Call your healthcare provider to get the blood lead tested. So let me get into some of the details here. So there was an investigation, FDA actually. This was multinational because it was not only within the United States, this was actually also being conducted in Central America. Now, why was there investigation there? Because as it turns out, the cinnamon in itself was actually tainted with lead in the preparation process. So even though, as I said earlier, there might have been people that had symptoms, what we have to worry about are people that were asymptomatic and had been exposed to lead. In these areas and perhaps locations and places that the cinnamon apple pouches were sold, it may be worth their while, whoever lives around that store, to get their blood level tested. With that said, let's look at the fast facts here. December 29, as of a couple days ago, this is updated. CDC confirmed total cases at 287, and this is according to the reports from state and local health departments. So total was 287, confirmed cases 80, probable cases 187, and suspect cases 20. And so even a few hundred is quite a lot more than there should be. However, again, the asymptomatic lead exposing is something that is needed to investigate. How many states were involved in this? This is what is alarming. There were 37 states that were involved in lead cases. So if there is such a widespread such a wide spread of individuals that were exposed in many different states, then the idea is that they might have been exposed to lead as well, other individuals. I think the important note also is that cases reported to the CDC through state health departments, they receive reports of potential cases from various sources, and then follow up to determine whether the case definition is met. So the person, as I was saying, this is not actually very accurate because the person actually has to have a level of 3.5 micrograms per deciliter to be considered pathological lead levels. However, according to research that I've conducted, even slightly higher levels of lead can lead to worse outcomes. So anything higher than 3.5 within 3 months after consuming recalled Wanabana Schnucks or Wise brand fruit puree, after 6 months after consuming this, even if there's anything there, then this was considered. So the idea here is not to cause panic, however, also to make sure that the right thing is being recalled and what is needed to be is recalled. So do not sell or serve recalled apple, cinnamon, fruit puree pouches, and then to properly discard the product. Retailers should carefully open the pouch and empty the content into a trash can before discarding the packaging to prevent others from salvaging recalled products from the trash. So I'm going to wrap this up with this. What are the 4 symptoms of lead exposure? Well, abdominal pain, constipation, and nausea. These are some important symptoms that people experience with lead, and children as well. However, not limited to that, there's underperformance in schools, lower IQ, and the inability to pay attention. So these are the mental and neurological symptoms. However, there's pathophysiological symptoms, like I said, abdominal pain, anemia, and so this would perhaps cause weakness and fatigue, and then sometimes even severe neurological symptoms such as seizures, encephalopathy, and coma. So these are the reasons that blood lead levels need to be tested, and a lot of the programs that might have been abandoned in the past with lead poisoning and lead exposure needs to be implemented once again. So this is what the story was with lead. I hope this has made some sense. Thank you for listening.